Alright, I have a troybilt 208 with a 21-inch clearing width. I'm getting ready to change the carb. I'm getting ready to do the carb right, and I realized I wasn't filming anything. Anyways, you're going to have two short screws here you need to take out first. So that is my starter switch. Two screws. Then you're going to have one right here. One right there. And you're going to have one underneath here, kind of where the handle's at, that you're going to want to undo, and then you can take your plate off. Kind of be careful, you got to wiggle. There's a couple things down at the bottom that it hooks into. You can see right here moving. Don't break those off. And you kind of pull them out, and then you'll have access to the carb. I'm going to use both hands to do that real fast. And then I'll show you what it looks like with the carb. Alright, so I got this thing pulled down. I've never done this before, so it'd be a learning experience for me. So we got two bolts right here we're going to have to undo to get this piece off. Carefully with your choke lever. It goes in through here, kind of latches on there. Your carb sits right here. So we're going to have to get this piece off, which I'll do here in just a second. And then we should have access to the carb. We'll see what's underneath this protector once we get in there. Alright, I pulled those two bolts out. There was a little clip right here that you need to undo. You can just kind of wiggle it off. Kind of get it out of the way. After you do that little clip, and it takes some rigging to get this off. Maybe I'll just undo this screw if I want to, make it a little bit easier to put the choke cable on and off, and then I'll be to the carb. Let me figure out what I want to do real fast. Alright, I'm fixing this for a lady. I couldn't get the carb wouldn't budge, so I just stuck my screwdriver right in here, gave a little pop, and it popped it loose. Right here where the linkages are at, they're super tight. It might be why she's having troubles. Anyways, I'm going to take the linkages off here and here. Make sure you memorize kind of how they go. Then the carburetor will just slide off these two bolts. Make sure there's a gasket here, and there's one back here as well. Not to lose those, to go back in properly. Let me get the carburetor off. Like I said, remove these two linkages, and then it should slide off. Alright, so I just pulled this off. There's a broken gasket. That could have been why, or a problem that left it on there. I'll have to get a new one of those, get it put on. Anyways, I'm going to take this hose off right here, and I'm going to undo right here, and then we'll take the gasket in and take a look at it. My carburetor out. Got to undo the bottom screw. I already loosened it up. Pops out. You can tell that's already really black. I have a feeling when I get on the inside of the carburetor, it's going to be equally as gross. Alright, so I pulled this off. It's not too clean, pretty dirty in there from being gummed up. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to spray some carb cleaner on there. And then we have our float here. It's really dirty down in there. So I'm going to push this pin right here, push it out, and this whole float will pop off. Down in there, there is a jet that I will try and clean out as well. And put it back together. So I'm going to put it down real fast. I don't know if you can see down in there, there's kind of a Phillips head in there. Put a screwdriver down in there and then twist it. Alright, so the carb I have here is filthy on the inside, and that screw in there is stuck, so I'm going to spray some carb cleaner down there. Let it sit for a second or two. See if it will ungum it a little bit, and then I'll pull it out and show you what it looks like. Alright, so I push this pin with my wrench over, and I'm going to grab my pliers and pull it out real fast. Alright, so I'm going to take this, give it a little pull, make sure not to lose it. So there we go, pulled right out. Sit over here on a plastic bag. I'm going to need in a second. Then your float should just pop right out. This thing has been sitting in here for quite some time. It's got a ton of stuff down in there. Keep working it here, give it a little nice little tug. There we go. Pops out. You can see down there it's filthy in there as well. Make sure not to lose your float or any parts of it. Set it aside. Alright, so I sprayed it with carb cleaner. You can see this loosened up a lot before I could barely twist it. I'm sure that was a major problem. Then we have our choke valve. It works quite a bit better now as well. I sprayed some stuff down in there, try and get some of the gunk out. I can already tell it's working lots better than what it previously was. You still get that needle out of there. Once you get the needle out, you can poke through some of the jets and stuff like that, get it cleaned the way it's properly, the way it should be. Alright, I got the jet out and I got it clean. I'm going to spray some carb cleaner in the bowl. I'm going to get a rag and get some of that gunk out. Well, I got a wire brush right here. I'll see if I can get it scrubbed out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this. Got it pretty cleaned out for the most part. So put that back in through there. Get your pin. Push it through, make sure it lines up squarely in there. I'm going to need to get a little hammer real fast. Alright, so I got it pushing through there. You see it kind of sticking out a little bit still. Take and just give it a little push to fish it out. Make sure it's even on both sides, kind of sticking out both ends. Then you can take and spray one more squirt down in there. Make sure all of my jets and everything are nice and cleaned out. And then you can put your bottom back on, get your screw, put it back on. Doesn't have to be super tight. Get it so it's finger tight, and then give it a little bit more twist with your wrench. You don't want to over tighten it, because then if you ever have to clean it again, you're gonna have problems. Make sure your gasket is on there. Mine's got a little bit of green right there. I'm going to get that off here in a second. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so I slid my carburetor back on. You're going to want to make sure that these line up correctly. You can put it on. Oh, that was right. Put it on, make sure that it fits, everything lines up. If you take it off, you can see how it goes. Just make sure you put it, see if you can see that it doesn't line up right if you put it on one way versus the other, so make sure it goes on correctly. I got myself a little bit confused. Here we go. Slide it on there, make sure everything works. Then you're going to have to get your, I guess you got to put your linkages on. So if you remember the little one, there's a little teeny hole on top that it goes in. The big one goes right here. I'm going to need both hands real fast to put that on. Alright, so I've got my linkages back on top. Got to put this hose back on. Push it up a little bit. And then you've got your fuel line that you need to put on as well. Simple little push, and then get your pliers. Grab mine. Pinch that. Pull it back up. Use two hands real fast. Alright, I got my fuel hose back on, so I'm going to put my choke cable or guard back on. Takes a little bit of finagling, but it's not that hard. Doing this one-handed. If you're doing it with both hands, it goes a lot easier. That way you're not breaking stuff. Let me put that on real fast. Alright, I gotta put the rest of the way on. You're gonna want to line this hose back up with that. And then you're going to make sure that you line your bolts that were sticking out by your carburetor up with these two holes here, and then that'll make it so you can bolt it back on. I'm going to do that real fast.